Welcome back, everyone. This is Mrs. Eggerding going over Unit 1, Video 14, and we're going to solve some equations that will have some different solutions. So they're not going to be the typical ones that you've seen so far. We've been working on solving linear equations, and so what I would like you guys to do right now is pause the video, take this equation, and see if you can go ahead and solve it. Now, I chose to stop at this point in time, x minus 8 equals x minus 8, because it looks a little weird to me. Both sides are exactly the same. If I were to continue and try solving for x, all of the x's disappear, and I get negative 8 equals negative 8. If you really wanted to keep going, you'd get 0 equals 0. So all three of these places have something strange going on. Both sides are identical. And any time you run into a situation where both sides are the same, we call that an identity. It's called an identity. When you have an identity, we say that the solution is all real numbers. Any number we choose for x will work. You can also use the double bar r if you want for that. One thing I want you to think about that we can talk about in class is what would this look like if you were to graph the left side and graph the right side? What would it look like to have a solution of all real numbers? Same thing here. Take this equation, pause the video, solve it, and see what you come up with. And so I showed all my work here, and this one ended up being a traditional equation. You solved it, you came up with x equals 3. This type of equation is called a conditional equation. Conditional. It's called a conditional equation. It's called conditional because it's sometimes true. It's true when x is 3 in this case, but it's only true in the one instance for x, and that's actually what you've been using most of the time. Same thing here. Third equation. Go ahead, pause the video, try to solve it on your own. Again, like the first one we did, we lost all the variables, but in this time, instead of getting something that's identical on both sides, we got two things being different on each side. These are not the same. What we've come up here is what we call a contradiction. Contradiction. Okay. This one's called a contradiction. Negative 3 doesn't equal 7. It will never equal negative 7. So here we say there is no solution. Okay? Or you can say that the solution is the empty set, doesn't exist, or doesn't have a solution. So we have a summary of the types of solutions. We have what the solution is called, what the name of the solution is, and then what the solution set will look like. Okay. First type is the typical one you've seen, and that's called the conditional. A conditional equation is sometimes true, and it's true when x equals whatever it is you've solved for. We have the identity. And when you have the identity, the solution set is all real numbers. And the last type, is called a contradiction. A contradiction contradiction has a solution set of the empty set. There is no solution. The identity happens when the two sides are equal to one another. A contradiction happens when you have the two sides end up not being equal to each other, like we had the -3 = 7. And again, before you get into class, I want you to think about what the graphs of the left and the right hand side would look like, especially if something's an identity or if something's a contradiction. Assignment on page 91, 29 to 38, it asks you to classify each one of the equations as a conditional, as an identity, or as a contradiction. And after you classify it, then they also want you to state the solution set. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you later.